Plenty Podcast. Welcome. Thanks for giving us a listen. Hope you're having a great day today. Welcome back from, holiday festivities and all that. Hope everyone had a nice holiday, ate lots of food, had lots of fun times with the fam. I did. Shout out the fam. This episode, we are talking about football. Hell yeah. Week 12 breakdown, talking about Frank Reich getting fired, some NFC top of the division stop. Oh my god, I can't articulate. I'm so sorry, America. NFC top of the conference stuff and some AFC South stuff. Make sure you are checking our podcast out on Instagram, on Twitter. Make sure you're checking us out on Spotify, Apple. Give us a review. Give us a like. Say what's up. Give us a download. Tell us why you like us. We appreciate that. We have some reviews up there. They're looking pretty good. Thank you, everyone. Instagram, Twitter, Anchor, Breaker. We're all over the place, y'all. You already know. YouTube, subscribe to us. Give us a like. Give us a comment. Tell us why you love us. Tell us why you hate us. Make sure you're checking out episodes to come in the future. Alabama Pod that I've been talking about for oh so long comes out on Thursday, the 30th. Yay! So make sure you are keeping your eyes out for that. Make sure you're checking out previous episodes too. Got some fun movie stuff there, as you know. And yeah, hope everyone's having a good time today. We got some snow in New York City today. It didn't stick or anything, but it was like, oh wow, flurries, look at that, 'tis the season. So as we continue to barrel to this new season, thanks again for listening. Happy holidays, and let's get it. Pierce, tell them.
No problem, I've still got plan C. Ladies and gentlemen.
Back. That was a little crunchy from Thanksgiving leftovers. So we wanted to talk about the Frank Reich firing. We felt that would be a good A block, and I know everyone's gonna be like, oh, but the Eagles, and oh no, why don't you maybe talk about the AFC South? Shut up. We're talking about Frank Reich. So I have somebody who maybe not a PhD, but maybe a 4-year degree in Frank Reichism. I am joined as always by AJ. AJ, what's going on, and what's going on with the Panthers and Frank Reich, man?
What's going on, man? We talked about the situation quite a bit this season. It's been one to watch. It's been a difficult one to watch, even more so, I'm sure, if you're a Panthers fan. I think it was inevitable that the Frank Reich was going to be gone. But the circumstances...
Inevitable from when?
Pretty early on. I think it was going bad pretty early on. I think when Frank Reich gave up play calling and then took back the play calling, I've never seen that done before. It just kind of showed you that there's just not something right. I think even before the trade deadline, when there was rumors that the Panthers were looking for a number one wide receiver after getting rid of their number one wide receiver in the offseason, a lot of questionable decisions. I think there was a very good betting odds that Frank Reich would have been the next coach fired after Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of the circumstances that we're seeing come out around the situation kind of sucks. Frank Reich is now the first coach in NFL history to be fired mid-season back-to-back years.
Yeah, that's a tough look. That's a tough look.
And now this is 3 years in a row that we've had a head coach fired mid-season in their first season with that team. Frank Reich this year, Nathaniel Hackett last year, and who was the year before?
It was wasn't it Wilkes?
No,
With
Steve
that,
Wilkes was let go quite a while ago. He was let go before the for Cliff Kingsbury. Excuse me.
oh my God, you're right. Wow,
It'll
my
it'll
brain
come to me.
is my
It'll come
brain
to me.
is
But
just mush for that. Oi.
yeah, but this is the third year that that's happened. I always think not giving a head coach at minimum 2 years is quite a mistake.
Yeah,
I think it takes a couple years to really build, like for that team to become your own.
yeah,
What's difficult with Frank Reich is the way that things ended with Indy. You got to give him his flowers a little bit. He took over in a weird situation. McDaniel was dropping out on the Colts while bringing in some of his own coordinators. So Frank Reich kind of got stuck with some people he didn't hire. Took a team that lost Andrew Luck. Well, they were without him the first year. Regardless, had some very, very good success very early on. Then they went through the whole turning revolving door of quarterbacks. And still had some success up until the last 2 seasons of his tenure with Indy. And so I think I went back and forth multiple times on this podcast that Frank Reich will have success. It's not looking good, but he might turn around. He might have some success. But ultimately, his season ended before it really got a chance to finish.
yeah. So obviously, we have, the Panthers. You're staring down having one win only after what we're about to come up on week 13, right? So there's an on the field product that is not there. At least for a team that just not only doesn't have their first overall or their first round pick, but just drafted the the quarterback used their first overall pick to draft a quarterback. This isn't the direction they wanted this to go. So you're like, okay, yeah, makes sense on that front. There's also been reporting all season that Frank Reich did not want to draft Bryce Young with the first overall. And so when you hear that, you're like, oh, okay, this kind of makes sense. And then you see that there's a bunch of people on the staff who didn't, or who also got fired along with Frank Reich. So you're like, huh, I wonder what's going on there too. And obviously they were fired as well because this is a bad team. So there's coaching and stuff. But this firing just, and I know we talked about it when CJ Stroud like really exploded. But wow, this offseason you just really, really fucked up. Like the Panthers set themselves back like 3 seasons with this offseason. You could have
Yeah,
just,
they
yeah.
looking like they got at the best right now. They got the third best quarterback in the draft. Um, like you mentioned, there's a lot of reports that Frank Reich and the quarterbacks coach Josh McCown wanted CJ Stroud. There was a video that came out pre-draft of McCown talking to Stroud and said
Like look
something
at
along,
Holmes.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
When you get a
North
home here,
Carolina.
hit me up and we'll play some ball.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of crazy indications that CJ Stroud would have been their guy. And again, we talked about this quite a bit, but with CJ Stroud playing at arguably an MVP level as a rookie versus how poorly Bryce Young is playing, um, it really sucks as a Panthers fan. Now, again, this firing, I think it makes sense that there could have been some tension, right, with Frank Reich not being happy that Tepper may have overstepped and made those decisions, which it definitely seems like that's what happened. But there were some intriguing options on that coaching staff to take over as interim head coach
I
that they
I
didn't follow
personally
through on.
have an opinion who I think should take over, and that was Rogerio Evero.
Yes.
Um, just
Yes.
talented dude, and really up and
Defensive.
coming in the NFL.
Yeah, he interviewed for a majority or a good amount of the head coaching vacancies last offseason. He was a wanted guy. Very, very touted and highly sought after coordinator. I was super impressed with the staff that Frank Reich put together, and now it's just kind of blown up. They appointed Chris Tabor, their special teams coordinator, as their interim head coach. Dude is 0-1 as an interim head coach. He took over for Matt Nagy in the COVID season. I think Matt Nagy had COVID. He stepped in for one game and lost. You could say, yeah, maybe he has a little bit of experience being an interim head coach, but not really, right? Not only that, say you don't want to roll with Evero as your interim head coach for whatever reason. I know he was let go, but Josh McCown is also a guy who's received a few head coaching opportunities, at least to interview for those spots. So, I mean, maybe the Panthers just didn't want another situation like last year where they appointed an interim head coach who came in, had crazy success, and didn't want to be stuck with that guy. I don't know. But the decision making is very questionable. I think. Sorry, go ahead.
Just you know who's gonna be play calling? Did you see?
Who's calling plays now?
Special offensive assistant. Wait
Jim
for
Caldwell?
it, Jim Caldwell.
He's gonna be play calling now.
Yeah. He will be
Interesting.
special advisor to offensive play caller Thomas Brown.
Interesting. Like I
So I
said,
guess
I mean,
sorry. So I guess Thomas Brown will take over play calling.
well, who knows though? Because Reich gave up play calling to Thomas Brown earlier and then took it back.
Yeah,
Mid-season,
who the
which again
fuck
I hadn't seen
knows?
done.
I mean,
I love me some Jim Caldwell though. I think he'll come in. It'll be a nice boost. Maybe. I mean, he's already been in the building, from my understanding, so maybe not that much of a boost.
yeah. I mean, they're 30th in total offense. So I mean,
Yeah,
what do
it's
you do?
not gonna get much better for the
When's
rest
the
of
last
the
time they
year.
scored more than 15 points? The
Never.
Dolphins, week 6,
Oh.
baby. I mean, I'm a Saints fan. I'm not one to talk, but we're focused on the Panthers.
It sucks, man, for a few reasons. Another thing you got to look at is, I don't know if you saw David Tepper's press conference. Few
I
interesting
did
things came out of that.
not.
One interesting thing is he said their plan was to draft CJ Stroud, but apparently there was a 3-team deal that was in the works between the Bears, Panthers, and Texans, where the Texans would have gotten the first overall pick, Panthers would have gotten the second. And so they, I guess, assumed that the Texans were going to get number 1, believed that Bryce Young was going to be picked number 1 by the Texans, and they would have gotten Stroud at 2. They said that Bryce Young was first on their board, so when they had the chance to get number 1, they jumped at it, and that was their plan, and they don't regret it. But the fact that even came out, the plan all along was to get Stroud, it's interesting. Another interesting comment is he said
that's got to be a revisionist history. That has to be a revisionist history.
Why even say that though? Why come out and say that?
Because the media is killing you for you, because you are the one who is being painted right now as the one who wanted Bryce Young,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. He kind of positioned it like, yeah, we were gonna get Stroud, but
exactly. Where he's like,
yeah,
well, he's like, I know what it looks like now, but can I tell you what it could have looked like?
Even then, a huge mistake to even say that. Another thing that came out from that press conference is he said he wants whoever's next coach is to be there for 20 to 30 years. That doesn't happen very often. This is going to be, if you're counting your interim head coaches, the Panthers have now had 4 different people running the ship in the last 2 seasons. And that's a huge problem, right? They have so much money tied up in Matt Rule and Frank Reich alone for the next few seasons. So huge shit show in Carolina. And man, it's sad to see it end that way for Frank once again.
I do feel bad for Frank Reich and those who were let go, because this just kind of fucks up your coaching career, I think. Because with the indie stuff, there's always a quarterback issue.
Yes.
And it was clear that, during stretches that the team was well coached and the players were responding and the players were getting better, week to week. And now there's just this 11 game stretch of Reich's career coaching wise that just looked terrible. And he will have to answer questions about that for the rest of his coaching career. You know, I say
Well,
this, and then next year he's just gonna be the offensive coordinator for Kansas City. He'll win a Super Bowl, and then he'll be head coach in 2 years. Watch.
I think he came out and said that he thinks this is the end of his coaching career.
Oh, I did not see that.
He's gonna be getting paid. I saw a ridiculous stat, but it could be different. I mean, there's these things. I forgot how it works, but like a coach can be like a special advisor for a team, and it won't mess up their contract, their the guaranteed money that they're still getting for their teams. There's little cheeky workarounds.
Yeah, so he could he can be in the building of Kansas City, and be like, oh,
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly. Or maybe he goes to Jacksonville, goes back with Doug Peterson, but he's going to be getting paid over $100 million for the next 3 years. I saw a crazy stat that
he's
said
sitting so good. Like,
he said he's going to be getting paid $25,000 a day by the Panthers for the next 3 years. So he's 62 years old. He was already one of the oldest coaches in the NFL. This might be it for him. But again, it is sad to see it end that way, back-to-back seasons. You said an 11-game stretch. You take it back the last 5 or 6 games with Indy, it goes back even further than 11 games.
Yeah, that's true.
The way he coached,
y'all really like y'all were not looking good before he was let go.
The Colts got so much scrutiny last year for firing Frank Reich and rolling with Jeff Saturday. Admittedly so. Did you see that Greg Olson is gunning, wants to interview for the head coaching job in Carolina?
I did. Did you? I made this joke to my dad yesterday. But do you watch Succession?
I have. I haven't. I can't say I avidly have gone all the way through.
But the joke where it's like Connor Roy was always interested in politics from a young age.
Mm-hmm.
I made that joke to fucking to my friend group chat as soon as I saw Greg Olson. Because the report was weird. The report wasn't, oh, the Panthers are interested in bringing Greg Olson in. The report was Greg Olson would be willing to talk to the Panthers if the Panthers wanted Greg Olson. Like, that's what the fucking report said. And yeah, I was just like, I saw that and I was like, Connor Roy from a young age was always interested in politics. And that's exactly how I read that.
That's funny. I see what you're I see it. But maybe that is what needs to happen. Maybe he's just throwing it out there, and if it happens, cool. If not, he's sitting pretty commentating. But that's what I always kind of hoped came out of the Jeff Saturday thing. I think it'd be good for the game to get more former players, as opposed to these guys who've been in the coaching ranks for the past 10 years, and it's just kind of,
yeah,
it is. I'd like to see more players become head coaches, similar to how the NBA kind of handles it. The pipeline is much more direct with the NBA.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, like, you see Mike Vrabel and you're like, oh man, like, so badass. Yeah, and I know the Titans aren't having a great season, but hey, Vrabes' best quarterback has been Ryan Tannehill, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but there have been a lot of coaches who have done a lot worse. Anyway,
these former players are taking over. Look at D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Good segue. Good segue to our next topic. D'Amico Ryans. Is he in your top? Where does he rank in your head coach of the year rankings? Getting a lot of flowers right now.
Been a lot of flowers, and I think CJ Stroud being as good as he is, I think that kind of takes away a little bit from his candidacy. Like right now, in my opinion, I don't have the odds in front of me. I can look them up, but I think the favorite for Coach of the Year has to be Sean Payton.
False.
Just
odds-on favorite? No.
No, I'm
top 5 right now.
I'm saying it's not the odd. I don't have the odds, but I just, in my opinion, just like week to week, this team was dead and destitute. They were trading away I mean, this isn't a Sean Payton thing right now, but do I think D'Amico? He's hooping, man. He's definitely getting his shit off. I think he's top 3 for Coach of the Year right now. I'd put him up there. I'd put him up there I would put. I don't know if I'd put John Harbaugh up there. Maybe I'd put Stefanski up there. And
You've
D'Amico
not
Ryans.
named
Yeah.
anybody in the top 5 except for D'Amico Ryans. Vegas odds.
What are the Vegas odds?
Dan Campbell, number 1. D'Amico Ryans, number 2. Mike McDaniels. Kevin O'Connell, don't get that one. These odds are probably going to move after last night. Nick Sirianni. So I'm getting at this. What I wanted to get at, because I see a lot of talk about D'Amico Ryans. The year he's having. I mean, we're going to talk about the AFC South right now. Shane Steichen of the Colts is not getting nearly as much recognition as D'Amico Ryans, and I think that's bullshit. The Colts have the same record as the Texans. The Colts beat the Texans. The Texans are doing this with the number 2 and number 3 overall pick, while the Colts are doing this with their backup quarterback. We just talked heavily about how poorly Frank Reich did last year towards the end of his tenure with the Colts. Jeff Saturday, that was a mess. They lost 7 out of the last 8. Such a mess to end that season. For what Frank Reich has done for the Colts to put them as the current 9th seed,
Not Frank Reich.
Shane Steichen. God damn it, I can't believe I did that, dude. That's so disrespectful. What Shane Steichen has done for the Colts to put them at that 9th seed, having a 6-5 after the season they just had last year, I think should be getting much more attention. Now, I was just gonna say, now the AFC South in general is kind of buzzing, so maybe that's why they're not getting the attention that they're getting. It's an impressive division for how much flack that division has gotten over the last few years for being the shittiest division in football. They're sitting pretty good right now.
No, there's the Titans are the only one with a losing record, and the Titans are, I mean, they're frisky as shit. So, it's very impressive. And you just look at the quarterbacks. We in this division alone, there are 3 quarterbacks who are relatively exciting to be very conservative, CJ Stroud.
4. Depending on how you want to look at it.
Will Levis, yeah, sure. But no, I'm talking about strictly rookies though.
Yeah, okay.
And you have Anthony Richardson, who before he had shoulder surgery was really tearing it up. Obviously, the injuries were a concern, but the man was cooking. CJ Stroud, I mean, national media members were talking about him in the MVP conversation not a couple weeks ago, so that speaks for itself. And Will Levis, he's kind of fallen back down to earth, but hey, dude is still game managing, and is he Ryan Tannehill part 2? We'll see. But I don't know. It's a really fun place to see the division, and specifically where 2 years ago people were absolutely clowning on them. You think about where this division was when Urban Meyer was the coach of Jacksonville, and everything seemed to be on fire. It's cool to see. You're completely right.
This division has gotten shit for probably the last 10 to 15 years. But this is probably one of the only, if not the only division who's sent 3 different teams to an AFC Championship game in a 6-year span. It's got to be impressive, in my opinion.
It's definitely, yes. Now that I think about it, Titans, Texans, Jags.
Texans haven't made the AFC Championship game, but Indy made it in 2014.
You said
Jags
Texans?
2017. Titans 2019. Texans are the only team who have not made the AFC Championship game.
Didn't they make it against the Chiefs that one year?
They have not. They did not make it that far.
That was the divisional. That's right. When they were winning
collapsed?
28-0.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, Patrick Mahomes, what?
That was the start of it, man.
You can do the same dance with the NFC South, by the way. But with Super Bowls minus the Saints.
That's true.
Minus the Saints, because we didn't
make back to 2009. That's true. Look at us.
Bum ass Raiders. Anyway.
It's interesting. It's gonna be good end to the season. The Colts finished the season in NRG Stadium against Houston once again. Just look at the difference between where those games at this year versus last year. This year, there's a potential to be fighting for that last playoff spot come week 18. Last year, there was the potential the Texans won that game, thanks to Lovie Smith, to lose that first overall pick. Colts dropped to the fourth overall pick, and it's
yeah. And
crazy
that's
what a
just
year
such
does.
a difference. How are you feeling about the Colts' playoff chances?
I'm feeling really good. The news obviously came out today. Well, depending on when you're listening to this, news came out this week. Jonathan Taylor's having surgery on his thumb. He's gonna miss 2 to 3 weeks. Now that kills me from a fantasy standpoint. Not worried about it from a production standpoint. Zach Moss was second in the league to only Christian McCaffrey in yards before Jonathan Taylor returned. Zach Moss could very well be a number one running back in this league. He's proved it. So I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that whatsoever. Our production, I think, will stay the same. Their schedule is not difficult coming up. They play not in this order, but they play the Titans, Bengals, Steelers, Texans, and one other team. All winnable games. Okay.
Y'all can't win the division. I mean, I know mathematically you could, but dude, I mean, only 2 games.
Mathematically, we could. Unfortunately for Colts fans, the Jags schedule is also relatively easy. They play Cleveland next week. And then the week after is going to be a very, very, very interesting game. They play the Ravens Sunday night.
Oh.
However, the Jags did beat the Colts twice already throughout the season, so they swept us. So
yes, that's tough.
The only way they win the division is if they end up with a better record than the Titans.
Yeah.
Or than the Jags, excuse me.
Why do I feel like sorry. I'll just very, very quick point. I feel like everyone has a really easy, like every single schedule I look at that is easy down the stretch. It seems like everyone has one. Unless you're the Buffalo Bills or the Philadelphia Eagles. Those schedules are buzzsaws. Anyway.
The 49ers also have a very interesting upcoming schedule as well. They play a lot of bird teams coming up. No, I mean, it's going to be a fun end of the season. AFC South is going to come down to it. You know, we've kind of been touching on all these other divisions each week, kind of giving an overview. AFC South is rolling, man. The Texans barely lost to the Jaguars this week, too. I don't know if you caught that game.
It was a very fun game.
Very fun game. Texans came all the way back, lost on a 58-yard field goal by I almost said Matt Amendola. Who poor bastard missed I know he missed a 40-yarder earlier in the game, but he missed the 58-yard game-winning kick or game-tying kick. Barely hit the uprights, hit the crossbars, and the dude got cut.
I thought I saw it. So I was watching Red Zone at the time. Now that I realize I do, when you said crossbar, I do remember because I caught the end of that, and I thought it went through after it hit the crossbar.
Me too.
Because I didn't see it like the way they had like the shot angled. I guess I just didn't see it bounce down. So I was hype as shit. I was like, oh! And then I saw the refs like, do their little
the no-go.
No-go. Do not pass go.
Like I said, the dude, he did miss earlier in the game, but I mean it was pretty damn close. It was a 58-yard field goal. Granted, they did make the reason they waived him, and there's maybe potential to bring him back, but the reason they waived him was to sign Derek Barnett, which is a very interesting pickup for Houston. So I think it's gonna come down to, like you said, the Titans are a little frisky. That's who the Colts played this week. I don't think it's gonna be a cakewalk. We walked them earlier this season. That was the game that took out Anthony Richardson for the rest of the year. But
Minshew Magic, baby.
Well, it is what it is.
Anything else on the AFC South before we move on?
Prediction. Who's your prediction? Who's gonna finish? Who's gonna win the AFC South?
I do think it's gonna be the Jaguars. I think there will be 3 playoff teams from this division.
Interesting.
But I don't believe that
The
The
Jags will be
AFC,
dethroned.
the AFC is just so brutal this year. Yeah, really so brutal. But yeah, no, I mean, Colts are in it now, and of the current playoff picture, you got to imagine that one of the Browns or Steelers are going to fall apart down the stretch. Oh God, but then it's like then I have to choose between the Broncos, Texans, Bills. Like, great, which one of these will not make it? And that's so brutal this year. And I mean, yeah, you have the Bengals lurking, but Joe Burrow's not in this. And yeah, so Jags number one, and maybe not two playoff teams, but at least one. Or at least, sorry, not
I
three
was gonna
playoff
say
teams, at
at
least
least
two.
one.
At least one. Yeah, so that's me talking about the NFC South. Yeah, what about you? Who you got winning this?
Yeah, I don't think that the Jags will stumble enough to lose out on the division title.
Yeah.
I agree with you though. I think there's a very good chance we could see three of those teams making it to the playoffs. You know,
Yeah.
we talked earlier. I mean, there was a time when we had four teams from one division in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Since then,
Before
two of
poor
those
Joe
teams have lost
Burrow.
their, yeah, both. I mean, not poor Deshaun Watson, but
Fuck Deshaun
both
Watson.
those teams have lost their starting quarterbacks. And now the Browns are a little screwed because DTR's hurt, Mark Cooper's hurt, I think Miles Garrett got hurt. That
Yeah,
team's
he
falling
like
apart.
popped his shoulder out or something like that. Anyway,
Yeah. The Bills continue to lose. There's a good path there for the Texans and Colts.
yeah. Moving on, top of the NFC. Right now in the NFC, 1-7, it's the Eagles at 10-1, 49ers 8-3, Lions 8-3, Falcons 5-6, but that's because of the division. Cowboys 8-3, Seahawks 6-5, Vikings 6-6. The Eagles have had quite the schedule, and yet they keep winning football games. Why don't we start there? What's your Eagles take right now?
I think I misspoke earlier when I called the Colts the 9th seed. The Colts are 7th seed currently. The 9th seed belongs to the Buffalo Bills, and they just took the NFC's number 1 seed down to the wire.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the Eagles, despite the fact that they're in these close games. Like I said, they have a tough schedule, and their schedule continues to be tough this week. They play the 49ers. That's going to be a very good game. I'm excited to see that and how it ends up. And then they play Sunday night the following week against Dallas.
In Dallas. Yeah.
I think the Eagles look good though, man. Even they do it so many different ways. AJ Brown has had 45 yards combined the last 2 weeks, and they're still finding ways to win. That happens, and then Devontae Smith steps up. Dallas Goedert's coming back relatively soon. Maybe they sign Shaq Leonard. He's visiting with them tomorrow.
I saw he's visiting with them, and then he'll make a decision next week. And I was like, oh, jeez.
I mean, they just lost Zach Cunningham, so it makes sense. I don't think Shaq Leonard is what he used to be, unfortunately. But bringing that kind of presence to that team can't be understated.
Yeah.
What he can kind of bring to that, the juice that he could bring to that team. They're rolling, man. 10-1. I'm not worried about them at all. I think they still got to be the favorite to win the NFC, be the number 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Their only loss coming against the Jets in week 6. I still
Stupid
cannot
ass
believe
Jets
that.
loss.
Still cannot believe that. But
Lost to Zach fucking Wilson. It's like when Michael Jordan lost to the expansion. It was like the 96 Bulls lost I think they lost to like the expansion Hornets, the expansion Charlotte Hornets or some shit like that.
No, it's kind of sad.
That's why
to
I
look
don't bet
back
on basketball. See,
that's fair. It's sad to look back on, but I mean they've been rolling. Since that loss, they beat the Dolphins, Commanders, Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills. They'll play the Niners and Commanders. Then they've also played the Seahawks. Then they play the Giants, and the Giants, for what it's worth, these division games you can never really, you can't count them out too much.
Yeah, division games get so weird.
They get weird. So, I mean, their path is not going to be easy, but if they keep winning these close, gritty games like they do, like they have been, got to be there. Jake Elliott.
Oh, just balls to the wall. Yeah, holy shit. Um 49ers. So this week we probably have maybe the biggest game in the NFC. It's pretty crazy because the 49ers right now sitting at 8-3, and just the way these seasons have gone, just the 49ers and the Eagles, I mean, it feels like the Eagles are a lot farther than they really are. Because the 49ers, they play the Eagles. Um and then if you look at the rest of their schedule, it's really not that bad. I mean, there's one game in there that, you don't love. You go at Eagles, home Seahawks, at Arizona, home Baltimore. So that's the monkey wrench in here.
They got the
But
Bird Gauntlet coming up.
yeah. So, I I have more faith in the Niners being the number 1 seed against the Eagles. Um I think this might just be my anti-Philadelphia bias showing, but it's I don't know. I don't know. I have a feeling that the Eagles are just they have too much momentum right now, you know? Um and there's going to be something. Football always teaches us that there's going to be something. You don't This isn't the time where you want to have all your momentum. You want to be building up your momentum right now. And I'm just I'm keeping my eye on the Eagles. I know they're the favorite. I know they look incredible. They just beat the Bills, and say what you want about the Bills, but the Bills are a good football team. And keep your eye on the Eagles. And I think in maybe 3 weeks we might come back and the 49ers could be the number 1 overall or the number 1 seed in the NFC. Yeah,
We'll see how this week will be a very good indicator of what the top of the division is going to look like. Top
definitely.
of the conference, excuse
Definitely.
me.
And then looking down, we previewed the Lions Packers, and I think we both said that the Lions would take them behind the woodshed and fucking give them the old Yeller treatment. Um, and that fucking did not happen. Wow, did the Lions let us down? And made us look stupid. I I'm very disappointed in the Lions. I'm not necessarily surprised, looking back at it. But
Well,
ugh,
I said it was going to be a close game.
we still both took the Lions,
Fair enough.
unfortunately.
I'll take my
Um
small wins.
yeah, so I think looking ahead, looking at this conference, I think we're not going to find out who the 4th seed is going to be until the final week, because the NFC South is going to punch itself in the dick until they bleed blood. And then final game of the season is Atlanta, New Orleans, and New Orleans. So we're gonna find out what happens there. And again, that I believe that will come down to that game. Cowboys are lurking. I don't believe that they'll catch the Eagles and get to the number 1. If they catch the Eagles, then they will probably be the number 1 and the number 2. You want to get the number 1, but better than being a wild card. I don't think the Cowboys will get to the Eagles. But at the same time, if my prediction that the 49ers beat the Eagles and then the Cowboys beat the Eagles, then won't the Cowboys be first in the division and the Eagles will be a wild card? Huh? Like this is still pretty close, y'all. Like, we are not out of this.
Still
We
got a
are
long ways to
not
go,
out of
man.
this. Still a long ways to go. And then just continuing down, you have the Seahawks at 6-5. I mean, I don't know.
It's very top heavy.
It's like you have the top 4 teams. I'm not counting the NFC South team in there, but just the Eagles, Lions, 49ers, and Cowboys. And then the rest of the teams are like, oh boy, are they bad? Well, they're not terrible. They're not bad, but there's just there's an incredible sense of mediocrity from like 5 down to 12, Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much to say about the rest of the NFC just because it is so top heavy. And our final 4 will probably be Eagles, 49ers, Lions, Cowboys would be my guess.
I'm right there with you.
You're not? Oh, you said you're right there. Yeah.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the team, looking at it now, teams that could maybe make a run, I think the Packers could make a run. They sit at 5-6.
Jordan Love's not looking too bad lately, huh?
He's not bad. If the Saints get rid of Dennis Allen and bring in some competent offensive play caller, I think they could maybe make a run, but not likely. Fun fact. Did you know that the New York Football Giants are 2 games back from the 7 seed?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's how
DeVito's doing it, huh?
That's how bad this fucking conference is. Tommy DeVito is 2 games back from a playoff spot. Anyway, before we get out of here, you got anything else to plug?
Well, I'm looking at the standings of the NFC. That kind of blows my mind. The Chicago Bears are right there too after their win last night.
Yeah,
man, football's been good lately. It's been a good season.
I feel like it's definitely better in the AFC than the NFC, but yeah.
Like I said, the AFC 9th seed just took the NFC's number 1 seed all the way down to it.
AFC's 10 seed,
It just shows you.
Just goes to show people. Anyway, thank you, AJ, for coming on the podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening. This was our week. What is it? This was week 12, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is our week 12 little video. So make sure you're liking, sharing, subscribing. Make sure you're checking out previous videos. Make sure you're waiting in attendance for future podcasts. We're on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Anchor Breaker, Google Podcasts, so many more. Make sure you check us out on Instagram, Twitter. We're there. Give us a follow, give us a like, share us on your story. I'd really appreciate it. I'll give you a high five. Yeah, next episode will come out on Thursday. This episode will come out on Tuesday. Yeah, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed that episode on Thursday because that's our new sort of ranking states pros and cons bullshit podcast. So, we're kind of having fun with that, and I'm excited to see where that goes. Anyway, thank you again, AJ, for pulling up. Good job by you, buddy. And thanks for listening, everyone. You did such a good job listening. You didn't interrupt us once. And yeah, hope you're having a great day. Hope you continue to have a great day. And we'll see you at the next one.
Peace.
Peace.